Hi, I'm Kathleen.
And I'm Sean.
And you're listening to the Dead Baby Bear podcast.
Dead Baby Bear. Long story.
Probably Canada Drives is who that missed call was. Because I signed up for Canada Drives when I was bored one day on Facebook.
What is Canada Drives?
It's on Facebook. It's like, anyone can get approved for a car. I'm like, even me?
Not you.
But I was just bored, and so then I applied, and they said, you're approved. Everyone gets approved. And then I get like a call 5 minutes later from some dude.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, it's so-and-so from Canada Drives. How you doing today?
Hey, it's Brian Heggie.
Oh, exactly. Hey, that's our local shout-out.
That's our local shout-out, the Brian Heggie podcast.
Oh God, Brian Heggie. Oh my God, I remember Brian Heggie used to like have this joke about fat chicks, and it was just
This
mean.
joke.
Well,
Brian Heggie
joke.
had 89 jokes about fat chicks.
But none of them are funny. They were all like pretty mean. And I said to him once, I'm like, as a fat chick, Brian, I'm just telling you, you're never gonna win a crowd over with fat chick jokes because either you're a fat chick, your best friend's a fat chick, and then with guys, they all have a fat chick in their life, so they're all gonna be like annoyed by that. Maybe I don't know.
No, fat chick material
talk.
might work. Like it's just one of those things where when you're an alcoholic and you spend 6 days a week at a bar, they're funny.
Yeah.
But not to get on stage and be like, all right, listen. All right, fat chicks. Rule number 1, if you want to fuck Heg.
Yeah, and that's the funny part was, didn't he exclusively fuck fat chicks?
Well, just by necessity.
Hey, that's rude to fat chicks because we have standards.
No, I'm just, you know how people say like beauty's in the eye of the beholder? No, beauty determines who the beholder is, you know. So if you're kind of gross, welcome to Heggieville.
Well, it's more like you fuck the level that you are. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, pretty much.
Like, yeah, you can't expect, if you're a 6, you can't expect 9s to fall over themselves for you.
But even if you
6s will be like, cool, you're just like me.
Even if you trap a 9, they're just trying to get out of the cage the whole time.
They're scratching their way out.
It's like a tiger at the zoo.
Fingernails coming off.
Yeah. You just walk into the cage and feed them once in a while, but really they're walking the perimeter trying to find a fucking way to get out of your life.
Heggie catches a 9, and it's just like, she's been in my basement for 87 years.
Oh, yeah. He'd have to catch her at 2 and just keep her trapped.
I was just about to say that 9's going to turn into a 6 real quick, but now it's way better. Yeah. Oh, my God. You're way more diabolical than I am, and I love it.
No. Heggie was a good man. He was in comedy for a while.
I hope he has a good sense of humor about himself.
I never saw a man wear a hat he couldn't pull off more often. Remember he used to wear those fedoras?
He wore fedoras?
Oh, yeah. He wore fedoras. They were always one size too tight. Like he needed a large, but he was living a medium man's life.
Was he trying to be Edmonton's Kevin Fox?
He maybe.
Maybe, because like Kevin Fox was around a lot when he had started, so he probably saw him and was like, I'm idolizing this man.
But Kevin Fox had the kangaroo one, you know. Heggie got one at the dollar store. He tried to pull it off.
I almost said, do you ever wear hats? As you're wearing a hat.
Hey, can you wear a hat? No, you can't. Well, yeah, Heggie, and we drew a swastika on his vehicle. That was a fun.
What? I don't remember that.
Yeah, well, I did. He told us because his nieces and nephews had painted some of his vehicle.
Yeah.
Because when you're most of the time you drive, you're drunk. It's really smart to have paintings on your car from children.
Allegedly.
You
don't want Brian Heggie to sue us.
He doesn't have the funds to take our empire down.
Yeah, our empire. Yeah. we both chatting on the way up about how we got big moves in our future.
So we wrote on the back hood. We had a giant swastika. Pretty well done. And then we wrote in paint like a bumper sticker type thing that said, "How's my drunk driving?" How's my drunk driving? Call 911.
You should sell those as a bumper sticker.
That's a good one.
That's actually pretty funny.
Yeah, how's my drunk driving? Yeah.
And it's a public service announcement.
What's that?
Well, I don't know.
Oh yeah, it is good to say like I'm a drunk driver. There are people still. People think drinking and driving is dead, but there's people making a comeback.
I don't think it's dead. I've seen plenty of people decide to drink and drive. And like, I don't know, like I can't understand like being like blackout drunk and being like, get out of my way. Like I've got to go.
It's 2019 and I know 15 guys that'll get juiced and do it.
Yeah, like I don't even understand. Like it's such a dangerous, stupid thing to do, and it's expensive if you get caught or kill someone.
Nothing short of being diagnosed with cancer. Nothing changes your life quicker than a DUI.
We should talk to Darth Vapor about that. Will Hannigan,
but he manned up on his DUI. He refused to give a breathalyzer.
Yes, and he also said it's the best thing that's ever happened to him because he would have maybe kept driving and done something worse. That's what he told me personally on my podcast. I'm sure
that's possible. Yeah.
It is a good wake-up call for some people.
I mean, that's a very unselfish way to look at it. To say like, I'm going through some really tough times, but maybe I saved somebody's life.
Yeah.
By not being able to drive right now.
Yeah.
Most people would look at it like, fuck, I can't drive there.
Well, Darth Vapor is like
he is his own man.
He's a
very unselfish guy. Because I would never have been like, oh, well, at least I helped other people. I would have been like, God damn it.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing would be more shameful. I guess other than like, being a John and getting picked up or whatever.
Yeah, I think getting caught with a hooker might be just about on par with getting caught drinking.
Oh, yeah, because I saw a documentary and I've always been like, what's, white privilege. Okay, I get it, white male privilege. But what is it? Like, give me an example. And then I saw this documentary that was like a perfect illustration because it was about some women in Phoenix that worked for the police, and they decided to do this new program about how they deal with prostitutes and sex workers and pimps and Johns and stuff. And it used to be that the John would just get a ticket. Like, he just gets to carry on with his fucking life. Like, he gets picked up for being with a prostitute. He gets a $225 ticket. He walks out of there.
Yeah.
The prostitute gets arrested, booked, spends the night in jail. They grill her about who's your pimp, whatever, as if she can tell them who the pimp is.
They get her on drug charges because she's probably got drugs on her.
Yeah, and pimps are cool, right? Like, pimps are, hey, he's a charming guy. Like, like in our culture, that's like pimps were like, yeah, he's a kind of a cool dude.
It's pimping is a positive.
Yeah, he's a pimp. It means
what
like,
a pimp. Pimp my ride.
I mean, like,
all these positive things.
He's so charming, he can own women. Like, but
that's awful.
But I mean, that's really
is exactly what it is.
Yeah, that's what we thought, and like, so in this documentary, they were like, okay, we do it differently now. We're like, pimps aren't pimps; they're traffickers. They're human traffickers. So you take that out of the lingo, and you say like, you're not a pimp; you're a human trafficker, and you don't arrest the prostitute, or you don't even call them prostitutes anymore. You call them like sex workers or victims or whatever. So you just give them your card and say, hey, you're busted, whatever, but I know you got to get back to work. I know you got a busy night. And they just let you.
So they set them free to whore again?
Well, they give them their card and say like, well, because they know that if we pull them off the street and they aren't earning,
they're in trouble.
They can't tell us who their pimp is under those circumstances. Mm-hmm. Because as soon as they go back the next day, the pimp's going to know exactly where the fuck she was. And if there's any extra heat on him, he'll know exactly who told them. Yeah. And so their life is in danger. So they'll bust the sex worker and say like, here's our card, call us anytime with information about who your trafficker is. And the Johns now, instead of just getting a ticket, they get processed. So they have to go to jail. They have to stay overnight. Their car gets impounded.
That never happened before?
I mean, in the United States in 2016, no.
Jesus Christ.
And I don't know what the rules are like here, but I mean, to me, that is male privilege. Like, those rules were clearly written by men illegal. For men. Yeah. Like the idea being like, oh, it's super embarrassing for a guy to get caught with a prostitute, so let's just let him walk. Yeah. Like, and that prostitute, oh God, like get her off the streets. What
a terrible. Send her to the church.
And some of these girls, like I always thought of prostitution as like, I mean, she's probably a drug addict, but she's made her choice, whatever. Yeah. Like, I didn't realize like how many of them were like young women that are at home living with their parents. Yeah. And pimps are like following them on Twitter and like, they're tweeting 16-year-old girl shit. Like my mom's a B.
Oh, I feel like it's easier.
And a pimp is like, you want to move to Vegas, bitch? And they're like, yeah.
More like way easier than ever to like. I know they say, we're high security, but way easier now to just like get into a teenager's DMs and fill their fucking minds up with garbage.
And so some of these girls, that's who they were. Like the ones that were in this documentary were like 16, 17, 18-year-old girls that were picked up from their parents' home.
Yeah.
Like, so they were at their house tweeting and writing on Facebook a bunch of shit about like, my dad's an asshole and I want to move out. And they're just like, hey, you know, if you want to move to LA, because like it would basically be like suburban girls that were, you know, were lured into the big city.
Yeah.
And then immediately were owned. So like they would pick them up from their parents' house, drive them into the city, take them to a hotel room, and then explain to them like, you are our property.
Yeah.
And so like so you basically are preying on sort of, you know, women that don't have any self-confidence, because some of them would just leave, some of them would flee,
which I would
and
like
others
to tell
would be scared and stay.
Most female teenagers, no matter how good looking or whatever they are, they have very low self-confidence. As far as I know, maybe it's changing and stuff, but I know when I was a teenager, like one of our girlfriends would talk to a boy and we'd all be like, some boy is talking to you, and it could have been like some.
Well, and I mean, the only boys that have self-confidence are ones that are excelling in athletics, right? Like there's not many. If you take away, you know, football, basketball, hockey, whatever, there's the guys that aren't in that or are poor in those sports, they have no self-confidence, right? So
none of us do, especially teenagers. Oh my, that's scary. Because I've heard stories where, well, when I was on the East Coast, in every single bathroom there was this poster of this girl's face and being like, so and so has been taken in. She's in, like, someone's sex trafficking her, and like it's easy to grab your daughters, and like I guess it's a big problem out there. I haven't seen them out here, but I've seen stuff where like they'll put girls in like a house and they're like, this is where you live and you're just cam girls 24/7.
Yeah. Well, I always thought like, oh, if you're a prostitute, it means you're lucky, because the other side of it is like, if you're a drug addict or you're strung out on something or you're drunk or whatever, and if you're the male version of that, you have to go out and rob people all day. Yeah,
that's like the opposite. Like, I mean, like young men, they get into gangs and those ones have to go out and like petty crime and assault and stuff like that. And then if you're a girl, you
blow people, have sex a few times a day. So I always thought of it as like, it's just the flip side of the coin of, you know, the guy who's robbing people to get coke or whatever. Yeah. I never really thought of it as like, oh yeah, of course it's like people being lured from their homes and enslaved.
Yeah, we've got off to a real funny start.
Yeah, this is a really who gives a shit? Nobody's listening anyway. I didn't get any messages about the other ones.
We're actually trying to get picked up by a legitimate network, so we're trying to talk to more political stuff. No, I don't.
Yeah, right. CNN is thinking of getting us on their digital.
I was listening to a murder podcast that said that they're a CBC podcast, and it was awful.
Yeah.
It sounded like your Uncle Dave explaining a murder in Canada. Hey. He'd be like, and then her head was cut off. Isn't that weird, eh? I was just like, and I thought it was a joke from him. It was not a joke. And his wife was on it with him. I don't want to get in trouble or have letters written to us, but like you said, not a lot of people are listening to us.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. We could take an 8-minute break and only Hannigan would text.
I know, yeah. Hannigan loves us, which we love. We love Darth Vapor. Darth Vapor for life.
Hilarious. We keep talking about him like he's a sponsor, but he's just our only listener.
So we do have 3 followers on Patreon. So 3 Patreon, and we are making $17 a month off of these wonderful people.
Isn't that nice?
And they still got to get those.
That doesn't even cover our goddamn Slurpees, Kathleen.
All right.
You're lucky. You're lucky. So where did you? I gotta grab my Slurpee.
He said get his Slurpee. Get his Slurpee.
Oh, look at Jim. He's so nice. Getting my Slurpee.
Look at Jim's arm.
I feel like I'm Joe Rogan right now. Hey, get me my fucking coffee.
Oh my god. Okay, so somebody told me that like I got name dropped on a Joe Rogan podcast, and I was like, what? So I listened to the podcast, the whole fucking forever podcast, and was like. When Ari was in Calgary, we went and got pedicures. So he had his shoes and socks off on the podcast. And then Joe Rogan goes, I like your toes. They look cool. And then he goes, when did you get that done? And he said, with Kathleen. And they're like, mad again? And he's like, no. And then he goes, Wiki. And then that's it. And I had like a bunch of people, they name dropped you. I'm like, no, they didn't. Like, they didn't. There was no. He said that to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's like, I don't know what the fuck that is.
Well,
anyway.
but the thing is, like, yeah, I mean, it really ruins a name drop when it resonates, like when it falls like a fucking lead balloon.
It was so embarrassing.
Who did you get those that work done with? Kathleen McGee. And no one says a fucking word about it.
No, first the best part, Kathleen, and then they all say Madigan, because that's the only Kathleen.
Madigan? Yeah, they're probably like, Madigan doesn't get her toenails done. Imagine Kathleen Madigan with her feet in a bucket. No.
Oh,
but yeah, so they were like, Kathleen Madigan? No, McGee. And they were like, oh, okay.
I was like, I can't believe I listened to
Did anybody say, like, I know her?
I think that Bert Kreischer said Kathleen McGee and, like, very disappointed or something. I don't know. Yeah, it was stupid. And I was like, what? I got to hear this name drop. And I was hoping they'd be like, this funny girl. I'm like, no, nothing.
No. Well, it'd be nice if somebody told you when they name dropped you instead of having to wade through the entire 3-hour conversation.
It was a very long conversation.
If somebody told me I got name dropped on a podcast, immediately your mind would be like, oh, boy.
Yeah, I never feel good. Like, Brian Hickey, someone's going to tell him.
Yeah, nobody's going to tell him. He's in Yorkton doing radio or something. Or time.
He?
Either radio or he's in jail.
Or he's a pimp.
Or he's a human trafficker.
He's a human trafficker. Hi, Brian Hickey, human trafficker. Anyway.
I traffic in humans and pussy.
He gets a human trafficker billboard on the side of his car.
Human traffic.
Let me traffic you, human.
Sorry, I was late. I was stuck in human traffic.
Oh my God, it's warm in here. I'm sweating. Anyway.
Yeah. So where did you were touring, and you love to tour.
I do love-ish to tour. I had fun. I was in Halifax and New Brunswick.
Both.
Yeah, Halifax was very fun. It's always a fun time. I just wish you got more shows so you got paid more and you didn't have to like pay.
How many shows is it?
3.
3 shows and you pay for your off nights.
Yeah, and then I stayed to do this resort gig the next weekend, it's a good paying gig. So I basically just broke even for being out there for like over a week. My mom's like, you must have made a lot of money out there for that. And I was like, I think in total I made about 200. She was like, what? I was like, yes.
Well, all you really need is a day off to die, right? I mean,
you.
If I'm gone for 3 days, it's like even on a day where I'm trying to spend nothing, I'll spend $60.
Yeah. Like at least in Edmonton, like if you have off nights, there's a show you can do every night for $100. I did shows out there too, but it's like they don't pay as much, which is fine.
Yeah.
Some of them they just pass the hat, and I'm just like, well, if they're passing the hat and that's all you get, I just gave it to the producer. Like I'm not gonna. But yeah, it's fun. I really liked it, but I don't like being away from home as much as I used to.
No.
When I didn't have a real home, I loved being away from home. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. I used to look at people that like, oh God, I'm leaving after the show. I'm out of here, and I'm like, what the hell's their problem? Like, it's not even, but now I do that. I'll go to wherever. I'll drive 6 hours, do a show, and then drive immediately home.
Drive home?
Yeah, I just want to be home.
I can't do that. I just love sleeping in hotels too much.
Yeah, but then I usually don't get to sleep till 3 or 4 or whatever.
Why? What do you do?
I just sit there, or I stand up, or I watch TV. I watch Sportsnet 7 times or something.
Oh my God! I was watching Sportsnet in St. Andrews, New Brunswick, with the comic I was with, Matt Richardson. Do you know Matt Richardson?
No.
Anyway, so we were watching that show where it's just this. It's those old men sitting around, not even looking at the TV. They're just talking like they're on a radio show. I think you told. And I was like, just watching these old white men talk about like sports, like they know what's best. And I was just like, I looked at Matt. I'm like, how much of this shit do you watch? Like, it's terrible. It's just all these guys sitting around talking about hockey, not even basketball. Like, basketball's the big thing right now, and they're still talking hockey. Yeah,
well, there's not like a finals happening. I mean, I love it when things like the Raptors happen because, like, as a sports fan, you watch, like, millions of people who don't even watch games all of a sudden get caught up in, like, let's go Raptors.
I know.
And it's like, you don't even watch sports.
Oh, yeah, you see, like, like people being like, don't even talk to me. I'm too involved in the Raptors. I'm like, you never even knew that they were called the Raptors last year. Like,
that's why I don't like Canucks fans, because they were always the ones that were like,
friends.
They were always like, let's go Canucks. Like in 2011, all of a sudden my Facebook feed is blowing up with these half-ass fans.
Which never happens.
That like they don't even know who their players are unless they're like Stanley Cup, champs.
I'm not even a real fan of the Oilers all the time, but I just am, so that if they ever get better, I can be like, well, I didn't mind them a long time ago. Calgary. Oh, Fairweather fans in Calgary.
Yeah.
Your favorite city.
Some of them are lifers. But some of them are
lifers.
I mean, they're prairie people like us.
Yeah.
They do love their Flames down there. You see a lot of jerseys, the worst jerseys in the league, but they're always like this.
It's not the C anymore. It's like a stallion, isn't it?
Oh God, yeah. They had like a stallion thing that was, who brought that into the play? Like that had to be a Wild Rose voter.
It had to be a wild, now UPC fan.
Not even UPC. It was like 3 Wild Rose voters saw this horse with flames coming out of its nostrils and were like, that's fucking so gold.
That's sweet.
That is so gold, man.
What's the Flames mascot?
It's Harvey the Hound. It's a dog with a long tongue.
Oh, that's right, because that one coach pulled it out of its mouth.
Craig McTavish pulled it out of his mouth.
Fuck yeah, Craig McTavish.
In a fit of actual rage, which is funny because he was actually enraged and then pulled the tongue. And then as soon as the tongue came out of its mouth, he realized, like, well, that's on YouTube forever.
That was pre-YouTube, though. That was old.
That was old school, yeah.
We should look it up on, see if we can find it on YouTube.
Harvey the Hound.
And just put it in, cut it into the middle of this episode. I'm giving Jim all. Jim, can you please edit us and sitting in this thing? Yeah.
And between the 22-minute mark and the 28-minute mark, I want this song to play. It's by Modest Mouse, and I just want it just loud enough that you can hear it.
Yeah, I don't want it to overpower our voices, but we do want to be able to make the lyrics out while we're talking.
Can you make a version of the podcast where instead of Kathleen talking, it's just music?
Every time she opens her mouth, it's just like...
So how was the tour out east?
Oh my God, that's so funny.
I did the Funny Fest.
I know you did the Funny Fest. Okay, Funny Fest, for people that don't know what it is, it's a shit show. But it's a good shit show.
It's a festival. It's well attended, but it is sort of...
It is well attended?
It is. Like it's so... The show, I did 6 shows, and they were pretty much all sold out. Wow.
At the Clarion?
Some were at the Clarion and some were at bars. But even I was like, I'm going to a bar gig at 10. Like, at least this will be quiet. And then you walk in and there's 200 people there.
I mean, the thing about comedy is, though, it's easy to impress people because nobody really... we all think that everyone's stand-up comedy fans. I know we've told this before. But I would say 10% of the population is like a stand-up comedy fan that understands...
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go, right? Like, if I was just a person who never got involved in stand-up, I wouldn't go to a comedy show.
No. I didn't go to my first comedy show until, like, I was, 24 when I first started. I'd never seen stand-up comedy until...
Neither had I. Didn't even know what it was till I was watching, I knew what it was, but I was like, I'd never been to one.
Yeah.
I remember there was 2 company functions where I left because there was going to be a comedian.
And do you remember which comedian it was?
No idea.
Oh my God, that was so funny.
I ate the buffet and then hung out and had a beer or whatever, and then somebody's like, fucking sweet, man. There's a comedian coming. And I was like, all right, I'll see you guys. And they're like, where are you going? You don't love laughter. And I'm like, no, I just can't. What if they're bad? I would feel bad for them, and then I'd want to leave. Because
just Sean LaComber, future comedian, saying this because you would know what it feel like one day to be that corporate comedian there?
Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea that would turn into my life. Well, but now it gives me more sympathy for crowds where I realize, some of these people are in here, I don't want to be here.
Oh, doing a show at, a non-comedy venue for anything that's, not, is just always a nightmare because there's always someone in the room that's not there to see stand-up. So, there's always someone in the room that's going to just talk right over you the entire time.
And most people, yeah. I mean, especially, they're just going to be like, fuck, this guy sucks. Because you have both hands tied behind your back, content-wise.
Yeah.
What's the deal with dolphins? Why are they always swimming? And, every guy...
Why don't they walk anywhere?
And these guys are truckers, and they're like, what the fucking... This is bullshit.
Where's the dick jokes?
Yeah, so you literally hear their table conversation before you go on is like, and then the guy rolls her over and fucks her in the nose, and everybody laughs. And then you go on stage and you're like, hi, lollipops are sweet.
This is why I feel like that I should get more corporates than I do. I get 0 corporates. Count them. 0. Unless I get them myself.
There's always 9 Christian chicks, right? So if Christ didn't exist, you'd be a corporate comedian.
Fuck Christ. God damn you, Christ.
Christ has really cost you a lot of money.
Well, in my mind, he doesn't exist. So,
but in the minds and the hearts of
small town
Alberta
mothers.
Women. No, they got a covenant with Christ happening, and then they watch your show and they're like, I just don't feel like. What if I laugh? Will I be struck down by the power of the Almighty?
What a horrifying woman.
Yeah. What kind of woman gets to that age and doesn't procreate?
That's horrifying.
You have to give to the world.
Jesus put us on this planet for a reason.
Yeah.
It's to procreate. If he didn't want us to have babies, he would have made men have babies. Can you imagine men having babies?
They wouldn't be able to handle it.
Hey, maybe I should get into corporate comedy.
Imagine a guy having a baby. Imagine what he'd do.
I just want to write a corporate comedy set, but have it be so bad and hacky, but just use it to make money.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we could sit here and write one in 4 hours.
Okay, you get a 20% cut of all my gigs if we write me a corporate
gay
set.
Marriage. I mean, isn't, it's, I don't know.
Straight people don't even want to be married. Am
exactly,
I right,
yeah.
ladies?
Exactly.
Your husbands.
Straight marriage.
God, I'd be actually a really good corporate comedian, actually.
You'd be good at it.
Holy fuck, I need to get on this.
You'd be like, look at that guy. And then you could get a little bit naughty sometimes.
I might say the word winky.
Yeah.
I might also have a stroke in the middle of my ranker.
Do you ever put your hot dog in her bun, Alan? Things like that.
Oh,
and they'd be like,
ooh. Alan, I bet you open the community chest every weekend, right?
Hello.
Am I right? I bet you there's a $500 bill in there for you.
Yeah. You open her up and find the heroes in the Legion.
Find the heroes in the That would be a crazy
Take
thing to ask in a Legion.
Off.
Just be like, hey, do we have any heroes out there?
If you want me to find your clit, put a hat on it. That's Legion rules. Goes against Legion rules.
Can women wear hats in there?
No.
No one's allowed to wear a hat in there. And what is the significance? I guess it's polite to take your hat off during those
Yeah,
things?
it's like the idea being that, these people have served, and out of respect for them, you take your hat off.
Why does that?
They're all dead now. They're all dead.
From, though? Taking your hat off shows a piece of. You've had your hat on this whole episode, so I guess you don't respect me.
It's pretty rude to podcast with a hat on.
Both of you have hats on. Dip in the couch.
I just feel like, and your elbows are on the table.
Wow.
Yeah, like when I grew up, you couldn't eat like this.
Oh yeah, we weren't allowed to. But now I exclusively. Sometimes I'll be eating and I'll be like, all right, elbows on the table because I hope they are. Fuck you. Fuck
yeah,
you,
I'm gonna
rules.
put my knees on the table, Mom.
When I was a kid, I said I can't wait to be a grown up, and then I'm gonna put my ass on the table.
Yeah, I knew you didn't know how crushing it was to be broke all the time.
Oh my god. I remember when I was a kid.
I can't wait to be so riddled with stress because I don't know where my next check's coming from. And make my own bedtime.
You'll see, Mommy. I'll eat ice cream for dinner every night because I'm desperately depressed.
And I'll go to bed really late because I'm so worried about my next mortgage payment.
You'll see, Mom. You'll see. I remember being a kid and thinking, like, I saw Big.
Broken?
Oh, shit. Your
I'm
Jewel.
vaping again.
Oh, my God. What's your vapor name?
I don't know.
There's Darth Vapor, but who are you?
I think it might be dead.
Han.
That's the thing about vaping is you're
Han
like,
Solo
hey, look,
vapor.
I'm vaping. And then all of a sudden it turns red. And you're like, there you go.
Does that mean you broke the machine and you can never use it again?
It just means like your charge is done, pal.
Oh.
You're done.
That's a good way to stop smoking is you just can't charge your thing.
Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, most people, my wife doesn't like, she thinks vaping is like basically cigarettes. That's her thing.
Well, it is.
No, it isn't. We won't know until I die.
That's what, yeah, and then we dissect your lungs. They're like, oh yeah, it was worse than smoking.
Oh boy, look out!
It was worse than smoking.
Well, what color are my lungs now? I guess I'd have to do like a
aquamarine.
Aquamarine from the vaping.
Yeah, what flavor do you use? Because that determines the color of your lungs. If you use lime, Guess what color?
Oh, I
your
use
lungs
mostly
are?
mint, so they'd be green.
Maybe. Or blue.
I'd have mossy
for
lungs.
Winter mint. Mossy lungs. Imagine if you grew moss on your lungs.
That'd be disgusting. I don't think. Do you think you're gonna? Because next year, next year is the 20th Funny Fest. Mm-hmm. Will you be going? It's a pretty big year. It's 2020.
He asked me to submit a tape this year, and I was just like, I mean, I can just send you a link right now, but then I'm like, kind of like.
Why the fuck should you have to send a link?
I don't know.
You've done the festival 9 times and
he doesn't let me close shows there. It's like I don't know. Anyway, but I was on the East Coast, but I mean, Stu, if you put me in it, I'd love doing it, but I also needed to be treated with like an ounce of respect.
Well, an ounce is a lot of respect.
Well, you treat men with
How
full
about
respect,
a quarter
so just
of
give me
respect?
1 ounce of respect.
A quarter ounce of respect.
Quarter ounce.
Just a big Ziploc bag filled with respect.
I'm always the nicest, and he always says I'm the most positive person that ever comes to Funny Fest because I always have fun. I'm never complaining, but
no.
Yeah, I was just like, he's like, you need to submit through this link, and I was like, oh fuck, no. Plus,
That's
I was also going to be on the East Coast. Yeah.
That's insane.
I should double check that that's what he said. Let me just make sure, so Stu doesn't come and choke
He
me
will
to
never
death.
listen to this.
He doesn't listen to podcasts.
There's no. He's too frantic. He would never. Even if somebody's like, "Hey, they talked about you on their podcast," he'd be like, "What? Who? What? Yeah, what fucking what? What podcast? Who there?"
Yeah.
I don't know who though. And then he would listen to it for 18 seconds and be like, "When?" And then,
Hi, Kathleen. I was waiting for you to apply for the festival, pound 19, number 19. Can you believe that? You are the only one that does not age. I don't even know what that meant.
Well, I'm sure if we said something to him, then he'd say, "Oh, I was joking." Like if you said, "You told me to submit," he'd be like, "I was kidding."
And then, but I don't know. Yeah. Well, I was on the East Coast, unfortunately, the whole time, so I wouldn't have been.
You were
able to
making
go
money.
this
You were
year.
making bank. Mommy was making banks.
$200 in total after
I can't
all
wait till I'm old enough. I can't wait till I'm old enough to have my home repossessed. I think they should have prepared us for adulthood by like taking shit away from us when we were children.
Yes. If we weren't
then
to
like,
repossess your
haha, I got an iPhone, and then they'd be like, "Nope, you didn't cut the grass. iPhone's gone." But yeah, like repo all their shit.
Repo parent.
Repo parents.
Oh my God, you should start like a parent. Can I? Let's do like a show, where we give parenting advice. And I've never been a parent except for a dog.
Well, you know that nanny show where she like there's kids that are
911.
poorly behaved, and then she like and then she gives them structure. We do the same thing that she does, except for instead of a timeout, you lose.
Something.
Like we rip your favorite item from your hands. So like you're a 2-year-old with a huge truck. Like everything is so we would just say like, "Give me all of the gifts you got from Santa in the last 3 years." And then I would just and then if you disrespected me, I would just burn it in front of your face. I would take it out into the backyard and just take an Xbox One and light it on fire.
Is this how you parent?
I do the opposite of that.
What do you do?
Well, I basically I'm probably.
Do you give them counts? I remember my dad and my stepmom did that to my.
1.
That's 1. They could get up to 3, and then 5. 4. I'm serious. I love it when they hit right before 3 or whatever, and the parent just doesn't want to do the punishment, but the kid is still being a dick, so they're just like 2.5.
Yeah.
I swear to God, and then they
do.
have to punish.
Yeah, we do. We probably do a lot of like 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there's like a minute pause, and if they're still doing shit, then you get up and fucking do something about it. So we don't even usually say 5. It's like 4, and then you wait because you don't want to move, and then you're like, fuck.
I gotta get up, these little shits.
I have to deal with this.
That's how Adam deals with our dogs. Like if they're being bad, Adam just stands up.
Does he give them timeouts?
We have done that before. Eugene was really bad at like snapping and nipping at people, so anytime he did it, we would put him in the bathroom. But a couple times I forgot him there for like 20 minutes, and I felt like so bad. Not like he just was sleeping on the floor when I opened the door. I was I'm so sorry.
I don't think it's as bad as leaving them in a car.
No, I would never leave them. But that's just, you're supposed to do that. I watched some Cesar Millan, or however you say his name, Alyssa Milano. Anyway, the dog whisperer, and he said if a dog does something bad, you have to separate it from the pack. So that's why you have to put it in a separate room so that it's like.
I think if they could talk to a dog, if a dog could speak English and smoke cigarettes, and he watched whatever Cesar Millan, he'd be like, 90% of this is bullshit. Like if dogs could watch it and tell us what he would, because anybody could fucking just pretend to be Cesar Millan and just be like, you know what you have to do is you have to take him into the herd. Oh yes, like his primal, because he knows chicks buy into paleo and fucking the past and shit.
Chicks buy into paleo and the past. We get wet for history.
So when a man with a fucking super thin mustache tells you, like, oh, you have to separate him from the pack, girls can go, that makes sense.
Not just girls, men believe him too.
Dumb ones. All women and dumb men.
I've seen videos where he turns a very vicious dog into a very nice dog. There's gotta be something.
That can be done through drugs and therapy for sure. Like, are you telling me those dogs aren't juiced?
I don't know. Don't wreck this for me.
No, he's definitely juicing them. He's fucking. It's a TV show. So they're like, rah, 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 and then he just like gives them a quick trank, and then he walks normally.
And then he just goes, and then the dog's like,
and then they go cut, and then the dog goes, what the fuck? Like, what happened there? And then he's back to being the biggest piece of shit dog ever.
Is he a fraud, just like that crossing over guy, that John Edwards? Is he a fraud, just like that guy?
Oh, sure he is. You can't fucking know how dogs think.
What if Cesar Millan all of a sudden could talk to dead dogs?
Well, that would make more sense than living dogs. Like I could,
Our card got full, as you saw in the video. I guess is that what's gonna happen?
That's what's gonna happen.
Jim, make sure that you cut at 36 minutes, and please do one of those sepia wipes through. I don't know if that's a thing.
Please do that.
But we were discussing how Sean thinks women are much stupider than any other creature on this planet.
No,
including women monkeys.
That's
human women.
Inappropriate. That's inappropriate, Kathleen.
Is that your white male privilege?
I never said that.
No. You just said that all women believe Cesar Millan.
Yes.
And only stupid men.
Yes. I'm just saying because women like to attribute a wide range of emotions to their animals more than men do, in generally speaking.
Yeah, but men with truck nuts are more than likely to be obsessed with their Rottweiler Tucker.
Yes.
More than anything else in the world, more than any woman is obsessed with any of her pets.
That's true. Yeah, because I do know men that are like, when old Ricky goes down, you might as well fucking put me in a fucking sidecar casket. Because I don't want to fucking live if he's dead.
I do like how...
I know guys that are actually like, kill me when my dog dies.
Oh my God.
And it's like, are you out of your fucking mind?
Exactly. Are you out of your mind?
It's a dog. I mean, I understand they're like your family members and stuff, but they're not really your family members.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
Not really.
They are. They're better.
Have you ever gone to Eugene's house for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, actually, yes.
That's a family member.
That's a family member. Will Eugene take care of me when I'm old? No.
Will Eugene grow up and get a job and take care of you? No.
No, but Eugene will also love me unconditionally and not roll his eyes at me ever.
Yeah, but he'll roll his hips eventually and just fucking never move again.
Sean!
Eugene, get Eugene his little mini tramp. He's trying to get up on the couch again.
Oh, don't. I can't even imagine. Eliza Schlesinger's dog, Blanche, passed away. And she's like, was with her at all gigs. Or like,
yeah.
It's funny because like I got a dog, and then more female comics like other. Like, I'm not saying I started this trend.
You started a totally trend.
No, I did not. But a lot of female comics have dogs, and somebody asked me like, why is it that all female comics have a little dog they can bring on the road with them? I'm like, because we don't get hookers. So we have someone in our room to keep us company.
Did you bring Eugene when you went out east?
Not this time, but he's come before.
Yeah.
He stayed at the Westin. My dog has probably stayed at nicer hotels than most people.
Does your dog like road trips?
He likes coming on the road. He does, yeah.
I mean, I wonder if he knew like how much money you were making if he'd be so excited.
He would be, Mom, why are you doing this? You could have made more at the restaurant this week.
Yeah.
But no, it's fun to bring him on the road. But then also, like, if I go out, I always feel guilty because I come home late drunk. And then Eugene's just like, again, Mom.
Yeah, I don't mean like they're not family. I just mean like if they're not going to be in your family tree. Like 500 years from now, nobody's going to be like, and then it was Kathleen and Eugene.
Maybe they will in my family tree. I'm going to go home and write him into my family tree right now.
What did your great dog father die of?
Ticks. He got a tick and then he got
did get the ticks.
I know, like, it's just so weird though because I've never had the urge to have human children, but I feel like these are my babies.
Yeah, I mean that's the level of commitment you're looking for, right? You got a diet baby.
I get a diet baby. I actually don't mind that.
You got a sugar-free baby. That's really
yeah. That's actually, and I prefer sugar-free.
Yeah,
babies.
I mean, dogs are diet babies. That's all they are.
And
yeah,
I like it for the taste, not just because it's sugar-free.
Yeah, I'm trying to watch my figure, and I don't want to have a human baby.
That's exactly. Can we write this into my corporate?
Sure. Because I don't want to get pregnant with a human baby.
Oh my
because
God.
I'm watching my figure.
Can we
and
call
that's
my
why
dogs diet babies?
Yeah, they're diet babies. That's all they are. Is diet human babies.
Okay, Sean, we're gonna write me.
Baby
Maybe
Zero.
not for this corporate season, but for next corporate season.
Yes, we got to get you primed and ready for November.
I'm gonna do stretches before my set, like all good corporate female comedians. I don't understand women that stretch before their comedy sets.
They do?
Yes, I've seen women doing this lately more than ever, and I'm like, what are you? I've never seen a man stretch before a comedy show, even the most physical comedian. I remember Barbara May used to stretch all the time before sets. She did. That's another local reference.
Wow.
She did. She would she would stretch, and I'd be like, I remember the first time I saw her, she was like on the side of Yucca.
I used to do golf swing. I used to do golf swings.
But why?
For some reason, I don't know why.
There.
I
and
don't
then
know.
I thought, oh, she's gonna be a super physical comedian. Then she just stood there, and I'm like,
she's
what?
stand and don't deliver.
I'm sure there's like some physical reason of getting my blood moving, getting me ready,
getting perked up, getting worked up.
I don't want to get perked up to do comedy.
Because then you're, it's like running a half marathon before you do the marathon.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
I'm gonna need all my energy for up there. Thank you.
Yeah, I need all of the energy. Stretching before a show, I don't understand when women do that. But yeah, yes, I have.
Do you even have like a set list? Like, do you go over your set list in your head? You don't even have a thought of what you're just like, I'll just go up there and wing it.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I don't know if that is cool because I'm often in the middle of my set, like, okay, anyway, where are you from?
Did I already do the pussy one?
That's happened before where I'm like, I was drunk, but.
Oh, it happens to me all the time where I'm on stage on a late show.
Yeah.
And I start a joke and nobody's laughing, and then I'm like, "Oh my God, did I already do this, or is just But then it happens to me a lot because my jokes don't usually get a laugh. So I'm like,
fucking idiot.
So I get into it and I'm like, "Oh my God, did I already tell this, or is this just going like it always does?"
Yeah, that's true. Like I did that once. I hosted a show called Tinder Tales, and it was like we went to Victoria, and I was like. They told all I was doing was bringing people up and they would tell their horror Tinder stories or funny Tinder stories. And I did a little bit of comedy before. And then I went off stage and then the bar manager was like, "Hey, you want some coconut tequila?" And I'm like, "What's coconut?" And it was good. I like coconuts. So then I started doing coconut tequala shots.
You know what he was trying to do? Separate you from the pack. Sometimes girls deserve it.
Sean!
I mean, dogs.
Patriarchy alert! Patriarchy alert!
No.
Go to bed, patriarchy.
Dog patriarchy.
Shut the dog patriarchy down. No, but I got really drunk, and then I went up on stage, and I was closing the show, but I also was telling jokes, apparently, and I told the same joke that I told previously at the end, but I was so drunk I didn't realize that I did that. No,
that's
but
tough.
People were like, "This is my problem."
People laughed anyway?
People thought it was awesome. And then I didn't even know I did that till the next day, and someone
people
told
just
me
like
that.
you. You have that face that people are like, "I like her."
Yeah.
So even if you're doing something that they would normally be like, what the fuck? They're like, oh, she's
a drunk mess.
She's a teaser.
Yeah. No, I was like, I apologize. They're like, no, everybody thought it was hilarious. You didn't realize that you were doing the same joke again. And you went through the whole joke, like, not even like, hey, did I already tell this? You were just like, blah, 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 blah.
And it was probably one where you were like, I was just thinking about this a minute ago. You know, what is up with this 9 year?
I don't think I've ever done that. No. Have you done that? Have you done the
I saw a guy do...
It's my birthday today, every day.
I saw a guy do one in Grand Prairie where... I'm sure I've told you this story before, but like he told a joke. He got really high before he went on.
Yeah.
Headliner from the States, and he does a joke in the beginning of his set, and it's a really rough crowd. Like they're super chatty and shitty.
Yeah.
And he does this joke, and and people actually, they liked the joke, and it kind of got them into his set. But then they started getting really chatty again, and then he told that same joke again, and not only did they not laugh, but he then berated them. Like, so he told the same joke twice, and then nobody laughed because they were like, he already told that. And he was like, all right, that's how I know you're a shit crowd. Because that joke is my closer. And if you guys aren't going to laugh at that, then you're fucked. And the crowd was like, he already did that.
You already did it.
You already said that.
Oh my God. But that is the trouble with not writing out a set list and not knowing exactly what you're going to say. I never know what I would say. But I think that's more laziness than coolness. I think that's a lot of laziness.
Yes. Some of it is, yeah, but also you don't really want to be tied to an order.
No, right? I don't like doing that.
Kind of move around and do whatever you want.
Yeah, I like to be free to move around. Like if somebody in the audience talks about Ugg boots, I can be like, I got a joke for that.
Yeah.
And then they think you did it right off the top.
I have a joke for that, but it's not on my list tonight.
Normally I would tell a joke, but I didn't make the rotation.
I'd love to call an audible, but I don't have the gift. I don't have the gift for audible calling. I'll talk to you after the show.
Oh my God.
No, I have to have some kind of an idea, otherwise I'm
I have
lost.
an idea of songs, of jokes that go in a normal order, but
yeah,
it is easier to stray off the path, but then it's harder to find the path again.
What if we were never on the path?
Yeah.
You have sets like that where you're like, these guys this isn't happening.
There's a lot of times where I'm just like, anyway, what else do I want to talk about? Because I can't remember what I'm supposed to do. That's the only time you'll hear me laughing when I'm watching other comedians is that moment when I know they've flipped over to like, let's get this fucking thing over with, so that you just that moment where they're like, and they just take a big sigh. And then, and then they go into like their oldest joke, and they're like, let's kill 6 minutes with this old fucking whale. I love trying to do as much new stuff, and then then you're just like, well, this is failing. Here you go. Here's some shit I know you might like, possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. I don't know. Yeah, but the problem with not having a set list too is that I always forget the new jokes that I want to try.
Right. I think it's almost better to do them right up front.
Yeah, I do. I do that. I like to do that, but then I remember like listening to some comic like years ago, like in those seminars they'd have for the new comics at Yuck Yucks.
Yeah, but then
they would always say never start with new stuff, and that was grained into my head, and I'm like, no, I don't have to listen to those.
No, because like you're not going to work on new material as often if you like, okay, I'm going to get off to a good start and then do these. Because half the time you're not going to get off to a good start. Yeah. And then you're going to be like, I can't do those new ones tonight. Yeah. Because this isn't the kind of crowd that's going to be into new material.
That's when I'll do the new
stuff.
So
if you do the new stuff right off the top, then you don't even give the crowd a chance to sway you away from doing it.
Plus, then you can make it look like crowd work.
Yeah, and you can always overcome that. Yeah. You can tell like 3 or 4 new jokes, and they eat it, and then
you say, well, those were new ones. Let's start on the stuff that works. I do that all the time like an idiot.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll do that even if it's not a new joke. Well, you guys sniffed out the new one, and they're like, you've been doing that since 2007! Shut the fuck up.
You would do that every year for our Christmas party.
Wouldn't it be hilarious if you just had one fan and they were just shitty to you?
It's like a troll fan, just like a troll that would follow you everywhere.
That's my destiny, is just to have one fan who's like, you've worn those jeans 9 sets in a row, faggot.
Remember when you wore that shirt on the Comedy Now? Never wear it again.
He wears it for everything.
Even his headshots, he's in that shirt.
Oh, it's funny because that reminds me of like when I was in Gabriola Island visiting Carrie Unger and Nikki Unger, two great people.
Yes.
I was like, they warned me, they're like, oh, there's a girl here. Because we were doing a show. They were taping for whatever, Sirius XM. And they were like, okay, well, I'm going to warn you, Sean. There's like your super fan like is here. And I'm like, super fan? What the fuck are you talking about? Like it was like a girl from Vancouver or something. And I was like, oh.
She made her way there to Gabriel Island?
I guess.
Wow.
I didn't even know I had a fan. And then I'm basically like a younger, fatter Larry David. Because the girl comes up to me after the show. And she's just like, hi. And I'm like, oh, hi there. And like, and then she's like, I guess I'm like your super fan or whatever. I'm like, oh yeah. Somebody told me that. I'm like, what's your name? And she tells me her name. And I'm like, oh, it's nice to meet you. And she's like, what happened to your like comedy special that was on like 10 years ago? And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like my Comedy Now. I'm like, somebody else posted it and they must have taken it down. Like I never posted it, but you could probably find it on like the Comedy Network site. And she's like, yeah, I like that one. And I'm like, oh, thanks. And she's like, yeah, and I took 2 ferries to get here. So, and then as she said, I took 2 ferries to get here. So she was turning and walking away.
What did she want from you?
I don't know. I think like it was just sort of like, I don't know if she was like, just an awkward person or, which I understand, or if she was like, that sucked. Where were your old jokes?
I don't know about that. Plus, she's not yearning for the days of Comedy Now, Sean LeComper. You got better jokes now.
Well, some people probably would go, nah, you were better then.
I don't think so. You're just like every comedian. You get better.
I guess a little bit,
You're like a comedian fine wine.
But I guess she had seen my special a few times and then saw me and was like, I like his old stuff.
Did she get a picture with you or anything?
Nope. She turned around and said, I took 2 ferries to get here, so. And then was turning around and walking away as she said that.
Oh, my God. That's like, sadness and darkness.
Okay.
I'm sure it went better in the real world, not in Sean's mind.
Sure no. That's exactly how it went.
Really?
Yeah.
Was she?
And it was good for my wife to be there because usually my wife thinks that I'm inventing, if I'm like, oh, fuck, I got the show and like these people and she'll just like, oh, whatever. Like, not that she's insensitive, but she's just like, whatever. Like you go and do these shows, they go fine. You're always worried, whatever. Like it's not a big deal. But then for her because she was there, so she got to see like this weird super fan interaction where even the person who was there, presumably to see me specifically, was still disappointed. And then there was another guy who came up to me and was like, weak link, and like looked at me and said, weak link. And Jessica was there. And then we were at the bar afterwards, and it was like me, Jessica, Nikki, Carrie, and a few other people. And there was a woman sitting with us who was talking about my set and being like, I didn't think it was very funny.
When you were sitting right there.
I was there, Jessica was there, like Nikki was there. It's like I guess I laughed, but it like wasn't very good.
Oh my God, women stop being such bitches.
Oh, and it was like one guy, 2 girls, but it's usually it could be 2 guys, 1 girl, whatever. Like and it's not really exactly. It's a So yeah, to have Jessica to be, I think, was for her like, oh shit, like he truly
is terrible at this.
He truly does have people that come up to him after every show and let him know.
Yeah, that's bad. Crazy. I cannot believe that people do that. That's ridiculous. If you're a person that goes up to a comedian after the show and tells them they're bad, I hope you get told you're bad at your job every day, you fucking idiot.
I don't come to your blah, blah, blah.
And
blah,
shake
blah,
the
blah.
Slurpee machine. Yeah, no, that's fucked up. Like
it was the island. I
always have the opposite.
Yeah, it's weird.
But it is awkward when people come up. I'm sure you've had people come up and be very happy and
there's a lot of.
And it's very hard to take all. Oh my God! And then you're like, thank you.
I think I've just had to come to grips with the fact that, like, if I do a show for 100 people, 70 or 80 of them will be like, "Wow, that guy was pretty good."
Yeah.
And then there's going to be 10 that are like, "Yeah, it was okay." And then there's going to be 10 that are like, I hated it.
Yeah.
And then of those 10, 5 of them are going to be like, I'm going to let them know I hated it. because I'm an extrovert.
I think I choose to ignore the people that hate me, or I try to. Like, I always just smile at people. Like, if they look like they're coming up to me to tell me they hated me, I'm just like, hi, thanks for coming. And then I just walk away.
Yeah, the energy. And I also think being a girl, too, people don't, that helps insulate you a bit. And your show
for me that I have no children.
And your show kills. Obviously, that helps.
I don't know about that, but
you have good shows all the time. But it's definitely not something you're going to go up to a female community and be like, you're brutal. Like, what you guys get is the sort of, I don't usually like chicks.
That's something that needs to I'm like, I still can't believe I hear that to this day.
When's the last time you heard it?
Probably like last weekend.
Yeah.
I don't usually like female comedians. I gotta tell you, but you are more like a man than a woman. Like, it's just like the weirdest thing to say.
They say comedian like it's just another job or whatever. Like, I don't normally hire female fitters. Like, they make it seem like, but it's actually what you're saying is like, if you're saying I don't normally like female comedians, you're saying like, we tend to attribute humor with intelligence. Like, so it's almost like you're saying, I don't feel like women are as smart or intelligent or funny or nuanced. Most
a backhanded
so
compliment.
It's a huge insult. And most guys, even if they're like, yeah, that chick, she has a good sense of humor, that just means that she laughed at his jokes.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so usually when they're like, oh, she's really funny, it just, they're not saying she's funny.
When women say that to me, it feels even worse.
Oh, yeah, because they should be on your team, but they're not.
Like, I honestly think that women say that to me more than men. Like, usually I don't like women comedians because they just talk about their vaginas and stuff. And I'm like, did you not hear my set? I did. I talked about my vagina.
I should be one of the ones you hate. But I'm not because I'm good at it.
But, like, it is very frustrating to hear that. And people honestly, genuinely think that she's going to love what I have to say. She's never heard this before from anybody. I'm going to make her feel really good tonight.
The only time I ever got that was when I was babysitting. Look, I don't normally hire male babysitters.
Because I don't trust them.
Because they can rape. But I didn't take it personally.
Yeah, no, that is true.
Because I was 11. Yeah. Nurses, I guess nurses. So, like, female comedians get it. Male nurses probably.
Male waitresses, which is what you call. I love when you call male waitresses male waitresses.
They're like, it's got a name. Like, I get this boy waitress the other day, and they're like, they're not called boy waitresses. Like, sometimes people will yell it out, and it's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I love it. They're called waiters.
But I wonder if you went to like a male nurse page on Facebook, they were like, ugh, another fucking client said, like, I don't normally hire male nurses, but you are outstanding, Rodriguez.
Thank you for the sponge bath, Cesar Million.
So that probably happens to them. So it's one of those, like, I guess it happens to guys too, but this one's more insulting. Because if you're like, I don't normally hire male nurses, it's because you're like, I don't normally, I don't consider men to be nurturing enough to do this.
Well, mostly because they just feel, well, shouldn't you be a doctor to a male nurse? Like, I'll hire a lot of male doctors. You know what I mean? Like, it's
true.
It's just like these jobs that people still can't wrap their minds around women doing. Like, I just read an article about this woman who is a firefighter, and people are still having trouble with, well, she's going to be weaker. She's going to be this and that. And she's passed all the fitness tests and everything that she's had to do. And people are still like, can you imagine seeing a female firefighter running up to you in a burning building? You'd probably be like, fuck.
No, I used to do a joke about that where I was like, well, it wasn't a joke. It was just something that came up in crowd work. But it was like, I was like, firefighters, like, they're heroes. And then there was like a table of girls like, we're all firefighters. And I'm like, all of you? Like, on the same truck? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay.
Just a female.
All female. I'm like, I don't know that. And then people were like, hey, fuck you. And I'm like, I don't know. Is that, if your house is on fire, a fire truck pulls up, your kids are screaming, and then 9 girls get out of the truck. Are you concerned?
You're the most. You're my favorite misogynist.
But
you're my favorite misogynist.
And then the joke was like, you just watch 4 girls trying to get a kink out of a hose for 9 hours.
Fuck you, because that's funny. That's the problem, is that all this stuff is fucking funny.
And then girls would be like, you can't get a kink in those hoses. They're too big. And I'm like, yeah, I know. That's just joking. And the funny thing is, like, it's all faux misogyny, right? Like, I don't, if my house was actually on fire and the fire truck pulled up, and I wouldn't care what the gender was.
As long as
I'd be like, thank God there's a fucking fire truck here. And I would also probably be happy that it was women because they would be like, let's save the children, you know, and guys would be like, fucking, I'm going to get calendar ready.
Yeah.
Like, you know, guys are more thinking like, fuck, am I looking ripped in this picture in the paper?
I hate when men think that they can't, like, just talk about boy stuff around a girl in their industry. Like, that happens in comedy all the time. Like, well, we would talk about this, but you're here. I'm like, what are you talking about? I talk about worse stuff than you ever.
On stage.
And you're, like, worried that I'm going to be a little offended by, like, it's just it's so frustrating. Or, like, how disgusting is what you have to say that you can't say it in front of me? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
well, you're not gonna find it funny for some reason. Like, I'm like, I don't know. I think I've always been fun. Like, and if I don't like something, I just go away. Like, I'm not gonna like.
Yeah.
But I just like I always, or like they'll be like, oh, if it's a bunch of guys who are like, well, we're gonna go play video games. We'll see you later, Kathleen. I'm like, I don't want to play video games, but I would come and hang out. But they're like, no, we can't really hang out with girls. Like, literally, this has happened to me. Yes.
That's
and
crazy.
I don't understand it. Like, I don't understand it. Like,
well, they think that you're going to do what you kind of said before, where, like, you were making fun of the guy for watching, like, sports highlight things.
Yeah.
Like, there's certain things guys do that they know women are going to look at and go, how have you been watching 5 non-athletes discuss an elite sport for 5 hours? How have you
I guess I do that. I guess I do. Like, if we're playing video games, I'm like, how have we been, like, just trying to shoot people for 4 hours?
So they're like, come on, get it. And then
This is serious.
all of a sudden a girl goes, hey, big picture, what the fuck are we doing? And guys are like, I hate girls and their big pictures. Why do girls always have to have such huge pictures?
That's why I like to take guys for pedicures and stuff. That's why I like to make male comics go for pedicures.
And guys do the same thing to girls all the time if it's like a girls type show. Like, how can you fucking watch this shit?
Yeah.
This is stupid. Who cares who he marries?
This battle of the sexes just needs to stop.
Yeah. When will we ever understand each other, Kathleen?
I don't know if we ever will. Before we go, we have to scratch that. But before we do go, I downloaded like a new album by this drag queen named Alaska. It's called Vagina, and there's a song on it called Francesca, and it's just like about, like, it's basically the nanny. It's really hard to explain, but it's, go look up Francesca by Alaska on the album Vagina.
This one's called Set for Life.
This one is Set for Life. So we are going to be set for life.
I hate doing it on this stupid fucking table.
Well, you need a coin.
It's such a shitty table.
It's
it's too grainy for a Set for Life.
We need a...
Here, maybe you can talk to your fans directly, and I'll just do it off camera.
No, do it here. Talk to my fans directly. Oh, my God.
You do have fans, though.
I do have fans, and I appreciate it. It's cool to have fans. Yeah. I'm sure you have fans, too. You would have more people. You would have more fans if you were on social media more.
Do you
need me to hold the microphone for you? Is it too difficult?
Yes.
Fucking man. Okay.
Can't
do a simple scratch and win ticket.
Haven't you seen every commercial for the last 30 years?
This is a set for life, which means that we could potentially, before this podcast is over, be set for life. We will continue the podcast.
Would we?
Yeah, we would do it on Thrones and stuff. We would
you're right.
We could get a studio. Like, we would bitch it up.
I mean, the maximum we're gonna win is $6. We have won nothing on this.
I know. I made the lady at 7-Eleven guarantee me that this was a ticket, and then she's like, she did the, oh yeah, like she does for every fucking idiot that says this is a winner. It better be a winner.
Don't give me another one of those losers.
But if we win, I found a farm in New Brunswick, 80 acres, a farmhouse, a guest house, barn, and like pastures for $225,000. 40 minutes out of Moncton, so you're 40 minutes from an airport. If we win this, I'm going.
How do you even fucking know?
You have to get 3 of the same kind. I think we won 5.
Did we?
Did we? I can't see. Your scratching technique is terrible.
No. Well, how else am I supposed to scratch?
Get a coin.
I don't have any coins.
We're poor. We're trying to win them. We're trying to win the coins. We have 3 Patreon supporters, and we'd like to thank all of them. I have my phone. I would thank.
Don't announce that there's 3. That's pretty sad.
That's not sad. That is a good. I'm positive about it. I appreciate all of our.
I appreciate it too.
We just need to start posting more to the Patreon. We'll figure it out. We'll get our shit together. But I don't even think we've been on iTunes yet. Okay, we're a slow build. This big drop we wanted to do, failed miserably.
Slow build burnout.
Slow build burnout. That's the new name of this podcast. Brought to you by the Dead Baby Bear Network. It's Slow Build Burnout.
I'm sorry, but you scratched this so shitty that we can't even accept it.
That'd be so funny.
The barcode says it's a winner, but not in this condition.
No, you don't deserve to win. You didn't do the work. You didn't put the work in. But if you want to follow us on Patreon and give us some of your money, it's patreon.com/deadbabybear.
Oh my God.
Did we not win again? I'm not going to take the sound away. Like your keys rubbing up against. And we are also on other places. Subscribe to us all over the place.
Really bad key.
It's all Jim's fault. Maybe we got to ask Jim to. Jesus, you.
It's nothing. You won nothing again.
What the fuck? You didn't even scratch these ones.
They don't need to be scratched. It's a bonus.
I'm getting sick and tired of this.
I don't want to win just on the bonus.
So
like
if you won on the bonus, you just rip it in half?
I would rip it in half.
That's it. I hate how they give you 2 of everything, but never 3.
Yeah. It's almost like it's calculated that way.
Fucking assholes.
Ah, well. Set for another day, I guess.
No word less, because we're down $5. We're fucked for life.
Fucked
for life.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Well, you did a great podcast, Kathleen.
You did, too. It was fun. I'm a little sweaty. I'm sorry.
You were pretty misogynistic, though. You took it. You really hammered on men.
I mean, men or women?
It's not fair. Cesar Milan.
What's the version of a woman hammering on a man?
Misandry?
Miss Andry.
Yeah.
Oh, Miss Andry.
Ooh. Oh, yeah. You could be Miss Andry, a new teacher at school.
And I just shit on men the whole time.
Well, and you just like, that would be so funny. Just like young boys that are like, I want her to go to the bathroom. And you're like, yeah, that's because you're fucking stupid like every other man. Like
that's because you have a dumb penis that can't keep peeing it for more than 20 minutes.
Take the matriarchy and shit all over boys in school so that they grow up with low self-esteem and they're incapable of assault.
I can't wait for that future. That's the future. The future is female, which is true.
Yeah.
It's female and it's filled with misandry. Misandry.
It's one of those words,
but I can do it.
It's funny. It's one of those words Kathleen can only say drunk. Misandry. I'm not into misandry.
You know what you can tell when I'm really drunk? When I say balcony. If I'm drunk, I could say like now I'm not drunk. I'm like balcony. But if I'm drunk, I'm just like balcony.
Hey, look, there's a falcon on the balcony.
Balky and Larry.
Balkan Larry. Balkan Larry.
Balkan.
He's not from the Balkans.
Do you know that's a Perfect Strangers reference?
Oh, is he a Balkan?
I don't know. It's Balky and Larry.
Oh, I thought you meant the Balkans.
I don't even know who Balkans are.
Who cares?
Who cares?
They're white.
You know what? You know who cares? No one. Just like about this podcast. But we're going to change that. We're going to start winning more.
We're going to really change things.
We're going to win. We're going to get 5 more Patreon followers soon.
Well, thanks for having me on our podcast.
Thanks for coming on our podcast.
Have a great week, Kathleen.
You too.
All right. We're not set for life.